Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 19 of Just Jenni Lee. I have been out on a few amazing walks today. It's like 65 or more degrees out there, and even though the snowbanks are like up to here, I couldn't resist. I actually took two walks because my friend who walks with me regularly, her name is Kelly, she had asked me, did I want to walk at 2 o'clock? And I was like, sure. So then my husband texted me at like 11:30 and he's like, oh, wow, it's already so gorgeous out. You should get outside right now. So I took two walks and it was just incredible. So while I was out walking, the first time around, Kelly actually texted me a little meme, which I'll put up on the screen. And it kind of got me thinking about something that I had already been thinking about, but just hadn't talked yet. It's on my list. But I was like, you know what? This is perfect timing then. I think we can all agree, as I was saying in yesterday's Just Jenni Lee, that the world is crazy. I mean, it's chaotic. We can all just agree on that. And in the meme that she sent me, basically, the world is like burning down around her. And it says something like, the state of affairs in the world. And I'm like checking seed oils. And that's something that I think is kind of an interesting thing. I have one of my very dear friends is a little bit older than me. And I sometimes ask her, like, was it always like this? Was it always like this where the news was just chaos all the time? I remember times in my life growing up where there was chaotic news. You had the Gulf War and we had, 9/11 and we had Hurricane Katrina. And there were definitely other tragic events that had happened, on school campuses and things of that nature. But it just feels nowadays like the news is hitting us hard daily, like every day. You can open up your phone or the news, and it's just a shocking headline, one shocking headline after another. And it can become really easy to get wrapped up in all those headlines and to know what's the appropriate way to deal with life in light of this. Sometimes it feels like you're just kind of like going about your day and doing all of this rote mundane stuff when the entire planet is burning down. And I used to have a ton of anxiety about that. Everything in the news was so terrifying to me, and I would get really wrapped up in it. And something has happened since I actually started posting a lot more on social media where I feel like I'm exposed to headlines more than ever. I started to think that maybe a better way to deal with all of this news that's hitting us 100 miles an hour, and it really is, it feels like 100 miles an hour, is to make my corner of the world as amazing as I can make it. And I'll tell you what, I have not always been guilty of that. I don't want to say I did nothing to make the world a better place. I actually grew up, being encouraged to be a giving person, encouraged to volunteer. I've worked for, whatever I had. I started working at a young age and volunteering at a young age. And so I would have kind of looked at myself and thought, well, I am already doing that. But we all don't realize that as hurt people, which I have been in my lifetime, we hurt others. And I have not always, even in spite of volunteering and being giving and all that sort of thing, I have not always brought light and life into my corner of the world as I've been assigned it. And so I don't know, last week or so, or maybe it's been 2 weeks now since Naomi was here, I was upstairs doing some ironing because I wanted to work on this scrap dress. And my friend had sent me some news and I was like, oh my gosh, this is just terrifying. This is so bad. What is going on in the world? Like, doesn't anybody care? I realized something, like I can't do anything about any of this stuff. I can't. I've not been put into a position of any sort of means of authority or power in order to exact really any change outside of my circle of influence. And then in my brain, as I was like ironing, all of a sudden the pangs of anxiety that were racking my chest like washed away, and I felt flooded with peace and just serenity. And I was like, but imagine if this scaled up, that every single person is doing the same type of work where they're each serving the people around them to the best of their capacity at all times, and also working to become the best version of themselves that they could be, the version of themselves they were meant to be, before the world, confuses us and makes us not believe in ourselves. And I don't really believe in myself. Okay, I put my belief in my faith, but I will consider myself not worthy enough, not capable enough, not able enough, not whatever enough. So that is sort of, in a way, believing beyond myself in something bigger than myself. And I have not always done that, but if we each did that individually, and we managed our lives well and our families well, and we continued to make art and to write and to make music and to give less and less and less, essentially, time, energy, even authority to the spaces that are demanding that they exact from us our time, our attention, our money, our resources. These things are so much better spent on our families, on the people that love us, and on the people that we can actually legitimately impact. And now imagine if they scaled that up, and every single person, literally every single one, did that. I'm not saying the world would be perfect. I'm saying it would be a lot better served and a lot better managed, and probably a lot less tragedies and people living in a state of chaotic mental health. Because why? Because they're not supported, because they don't have a voice, because they don't have a purpose, because they don't feel fulfilled, because we a lot of times live empty, vapid lives. So I'm not encouraging to just live in exclusively selfish pursuits and to stay in the dark about the state of affairs that is happening. However, I believe a lot in the power of prayer, and I believe a lot in the power of just managing what you were given. And if we each manage what we were given really well, like in the Bible, the story of the stewards who were given each a sum of money, and it was called a talent. Then one was given one, and one was given five, and one was given 10, or something to that effect. And the ones that were given the greater amounts essentially had done well in managing them and even increasing them. And so they were rewarded. And the one that buried their talent in the ground was the one that was cast out. And whether or not you believe that is a legitimate account, I believe that the concept behind it is a really good one. Across the board, you will get back whatever you invest in. And what are you investing in? Are you investing in a lot of fear, like I have been guilty of? I am the worst. I am the chiefest of sinners when it comes to investing in my fear. And the fear is really just a distraction. It's a distraction from myself, it's a distraction to the people around me. I've noticed when I go and play the piano for prayer room or whatever, that even if I'm a little bit afraid, I really want to. I learned how to not let that control me, because when I brought it as almost like a vulnerability to the group that I'm playing with, it almost ends up being a distraction, because they're there to have fun, they're there to play music, they're there to worship or whatever, and I'm there just all stressed out and ruminating over my own self. And it's a kind of an internal way of being selfish, and it seems noble because you're like, well, I just want to, I don't want to be a distraction if I play badly. Well, come to find out, you're just more of a distraction if you focus on what a distraction that you might be, and you're less of a distraction if you just go and bring joy and bring light and life into the space. And so I kind of see the whole world like that. At this point, the whole world is like a space in which I can either bring, it says also in the Bible that's like the tongue has been given the power of life and death, basically. And so what I'm bringing to the table can really uh create change in the space. A lot of people believe what aura or energy or vibe you bring into the room, same idea. And so I'm realizing, I get a lot of peace out of realizing that I don't need to change all this stuff. what if it is all just a distraction? I don't care if I seem shallow and silly for building an art website while there's this war happening here and this scandal happening there and this argument going on over there. It may just seem like I'm functioning in oblivion, but that's not the case at all. I am not functioning in oblivion. I am functioning in spite of all of these things that are going on. My husband really loves to tell a story about, I forget what the steak sauce is. There's some kind of steak sauce. I don't even want to say the name of it because I can't remember. If I ask him later, I'll pop the picture up on the screen. But he tells the story about how, I think it's A1 actually, A1 steak sauce. During the Civil War, a steak sauce was invented and is standing to this day. And think about how many things have changed since like the 1800s or the whatever that was. Think about how much has changed. But the thing that stood the test of time was this steak sauce. All right. So eventually things are going to change. Political parties even change, and borders change, and situations change. And so I realized the thing that will stand is us, our stories, what we create, our relationships that we create. The relationships may change, but what has happened in the relationship changes the course of time usually for people. So I think it's really interesting to realize that actually what I am doing here and what I'm working on is the permanent fixture in society and not the fleeting news of the day. And that actually gives me peace and joy. And it makes me realize the flames may be going on behind me, but the water that will put it out is this. And even if it doesn't put out the current news, continuously feeding creativity and light and joy and peace into society at large, into our culture at large, will reap rewards and benefits that you really can't actually measure in the current moment. So, hopefully that inspires you to not stress out so much about the news, to maybe pick up a paintbrush or a guitar or a language app or something and say, hey, I'm not going to sit here and doom scroll. I am not going to freak out about where the world is going. I'm going to worry about managing the slice of my piece of the pie here, and I could make this heaven on earth or I could make it hell on earth, and that's really up to me. So if you liked this video, I would love to have you join my journey. I would love a like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff that I'm supposed to ask for. And I hope that you got outside and enjoyed the amazing weather that we've been having, at least here in upstate New York. I got out for 2 amazing walks today. I hope you have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week, and I will catch you in the next video.